Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce. Getting that timing down a little bit when that music kicks in for the video. We had it perfect in the first couple videos, and now it's a little like a second off. So for those of you who are just listening to the audio, we were on screen for about a second, and Alex did the finger guns.
Finger guns, yep. Yeah, if you're only listening to the podcast, just straight up audio, you're missing some good stuff out of me. My hair is a mess. I'm doing finger guns left and right. I would check out the YouTube video.
Yeah, I've actually never probably worked with somebody who is so concerned about how their hair looks, adjust their hair so much, and then it just looks the same.
Still looks terrible, right? Yeah.
No, it looks fine.
Looks just raggedy. I don't know.
Wow. I didn't know you were so vain.
I didn't know either until we started doing this. Yeah, apparently I'm very vain.
Yeah. You totally missed that reference. But anyways, I'm going to welcome to the NBA Morning Deuce for December 9th, Wednesday. We're in the middle of training camp. No COVID updates today. So I guess that's a good thing. No major COVID updates other than James Harden is in Houston and has taken a COVID test, according to Steven Silas, according to the Rockets organization. We're going to talk about James Harden today. We got to. That's like the biggest. That's what's going on. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of camps. A lot of sound we could play. You know, people addressing the media every day. Sound bites coming out from different camps, different places. You know, different storylines. But you know, we got to talk about James Harden. Still don't really know what's happening there. ESPN did their annual troll list where they troll all NBA fans and come out with their top 100, which is meant for people to just get angry about. And of course, we're going to talk about it because they release it the top, or they release 100 to 51, and then they go 10 at a time, I think, for the next few days. So today they released 10 to 51. There's one like just egregious ranking. The rest of them are there's some interesting ones, I think, but we'll talk about that briefly. LeBron James was on Road Trippin', Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye's podcast, which is that was sort of the pod that sort of started athletes doing podcasts. In my view, I think like they did theirs and it was so good that every athlete, just particularly NBA players, but like I don't remember there being an NFL like players podcast. I feel like they like sort of revolutionized the podcast game in terms of athletes. And when you watch it, you kind of forget because they've been around for so long. They're so good. Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye are awesome. But LeBron they did an interview with him. It got released in 2 parts. The second part came out yesterday and he said some really interesting stuff in it. So towards the end, we'll talk about some of that stuff. But something went viral today on the Twitter.
Okay, on Twitter, not another. Here, talk about viruses. Things going viral these days. You gotta dance around
not that. It's footage from camp. So, and unfortunately, if you haven't seen it, once we start talking about it, you should go ahead and check it out. We can't play it because it was released directly from a team's Twitter account, so we can't monetize that footage. But I think it's maybe something that has been a little overlooked in the offseason, potentially. Maybe not. But and I hate to watch, you know, like a 90-second clip and overreact, but that's what we do. I mean, it's what happened last offseason when Ben Simmons, every time, like you mentioned, every time an offseason video comes out and Ben Simmons hits a shot, it's like Ben Simmons can shoot. Well, the Nuggets released some footage today from training camp, and maybe even was yesterday, and it just got big today, of Bol Bol in training camp. And goddamn, that dude looks like an absolute monster. Like, I know it was only 4 clips or so, 5 clips, but like, you think about it and you're like, Mason Plumlee's gone. Jeremy Grant's gone. We talk a ton about how Michael Porter Jr. has to step up, and Michael Porter Jr. even came out and said, "I'm going to be I'm ready to be the third star." Maybe it's Bol Bol. Maybe. So the question I pose is, are we not talking enough about the potential of Bol Bol being the breakout star in the NBA next year?
Maybe. I mean, it's definitely flying under the radar. It's for him, and I feel like it's always going to be this way until he proves it otherwise. It's going to be about strength, right? He's just so thin. And I mean, the skill is there. The skill is undeniable. And then at 7'2", the way he moves is like breathtaking. It really is. Like in that clip, I'm sure most people listening have seen it. There's just this kind of dribble through move, and he pulls up, and he looks like his shooting form looks like Kevin Durant, to be totally honest. Like with those super long arms, but it's still a good looking shot, which is rare. You know, most guys with very long arms don't have a pretty shot. His looks good to me. I'm not saying he's the shooter Kevin Durant is. I'm just saying this skill wise, it's there. If he gets stronger and can defend 4s and 5s, then yeah, this could be the breakout star. The Nuggets could be terrifying if this guy takes a step forward along with Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, and I think, interestingly, because he's so big and so long, I don't think he has to get super strong. I think he just has to get strong enough to where he doesn't get hurt.
Sure.
Because it's not like the NBA is not a post game. Like he's not guarding guys in the post, like banging, right? And he's so big and so long that even if a guy's stronger than him and they post him up and back him down, he's so long, he's going to disrupt everything. Like you're going to have to go around him to score on him. You're not going to back him down and take, and you know what? If there are bigs in the league, I mean, Jokic is one of them who could probably score on him. So he doesn't have to worry about that. But I'm just saying, like, if you're going to play traditional back to the basket and worry about him getting banged on in the post, I'm okay with guys having to settle for hook shots over Bol Bol. So strength, I'm not as concerned about. From that standpoint, guarding guys. I think he's going to be fine guarding guys. In fact, I think if he plays regular minutes, he's going to be top 5 in the NBA in blocks next year. He's just too big and too athletic. It's crazy. But when I watch him, I'm not sure that I don't think, because I'm looking at this list right now of got 7-footers, like guys 7'2" and above at his size. There's never been anybody like him.
That moves the way he does, you mean?
That has the skills.
Yeah.
The closest thing, I think you mentioned it, the closest thing that we've ever seen from a skill set standpoint at remotely close to that size is KD. And I guess maybe what we saw a little bit of Anthony Davis in the finals, his ability to handle the ball. But Bol Bol is a child who hasn't even come into his own yet. And he's like handling the ball. He can go to the rim. He's pulling up from 3. Like he's doing all these things. There's nobody 7'2" that has the skill set that he has. Like, and he's going to have to play. They lost 2 of their bit. I mean, Mason Plumlee is a big, and then Jeremy Grant played the 4 and the 3 for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the rotations. But if he has any semblance of what they're showing in training camp, I mean, that team is it. They're going under the radar as with between him and Michael Porter Jr. entering into much bigger roles next year. Under the radar as maybe the most exciting team to watch, young team to watch.
Definitely. I mean, Jesus, we've been talking about them for how many minutes now? We didn't even mention Jamal Murray. Like, I mean, you mentioned Jokic and we mentioned but Jamal Murray is still the second best player on the team. And then you've got Bol Bol and Michael Porter Jr. And, you know, it looks like it sucks they lost Jeremy Grant, but they get Michael Green, right? Like this team can challenge for the Western Conference 100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Jamal Murray, we didn't mention him, and he is the second best player on the team, and Jokic is already a star and arguably the most skilled 7-footer ever. But the difference when you're talking about those two and you're talking about Michael Porter Jr. and Bol Bol, is with Michael Porter Jr., you're talking about a guy who we think could be a franchise player if he fully develops, and he's the catalyst in terms of in the NBA, you need to have wing players who can score at any time, at any place on the floor, and can defend and do all those things to win. As long as LeBron's in the league and KD's in these wing players that dominate are in the league, because there's so few of them. So he's more interesting to me because we don't know. And then Bol Bol, just purely off of the fact that we've literally, based on the limited amount of time we've seen him and the things we're seeing him do just in this little bit of tape, we have literally never seen a player in NBA history that is doing the things that he can do on a basketball floor at his size. Like, he can't shoot it like Porzingis, right? But he can shoot the ball pretty well. He can't handle it like KD, but he does handle the ball pretty well. Like, he's got a little bit of, and he's also so young. He's got all these things that he's clearly not like totally developed yet. But for his size, it's already further along than anything we've seen. The closest probably at that size is Porzingis. And Porzingis can't handle the ball like that. Porzingis is a better shooter, no question, right now. Because Porzingis is an incredible shooter, especially from range. But he doesn't have the athleticism and the ball skills that Bol Bol has. And because of that, that's where I'm like, he could be the breakout star. Because if he even averages 16 points a game next year, but he does some of those things we saw in those videos on Twitter, that's all. That's all anybody's going to be talking about. Jokic could average a triple-double. Michael Porter Jr. could do what he does and average 25 if he becomes what we think he could. Jamal Murray could average 25 next year. If Bol Bol is getting steals at three-quarter court and taking him the length of the floor and crossing people over and dunking or pulling up from three at 7'2", that's going to be the story of the NBA.
It's exciting. Oh, man, I just wanted to get here.
Yeah, we're 4 days away.
I'm trying to think. We've talked about Bol Bol. We've definitely talked about Bol Bol, not to this length, but yeah,
we talked about Bol Bol in the playoffs. We talked about him being their catalyst defensively, which is probably true, because at the moment, or at least from what we saw in the playoffs last year with Denver, they don't have a rim protector. Like, Jokic is not a rim protector, and the question becomes: are they able to play together? Which, with Jokic's skill set, I think they can.
I do too, and especially with Jokic getting in better shape too. That's another huge factor to me. If he can reliably guard a 4 right now, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think what probably gets forgotten about is it will depend how good Bol Bol is defensively in terms of protecting the paint, rotating in pick and rolls when he's off the ball, shot blocking, all that stuff. Because, for example, I would say just watching him, even when we watched him a little bit last year, watching him a little bit in college, he's probably a better athlete than Rudy Gobert, just in terms of pure athleticism. But Rudy Gobert's impact is because, first of all, his instincts, but he's so damn big.
Mm-hmm.
You can take chances defensively when you have Rudy Gobert in the game because you're not scoring at the rim with him there. That's what Bol Bol brings to the table defensively, potentially, for this team, because he's so big and he's so athletic and he moves so well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you combine the fact that he has ball skills, he can shoot the ball, and Jokic is the most skilled big in the NBA, and he can shoot the ball, it's a scary concept to think what these two guys could be together. Oh, and then there's Michael Porter Jr., who has the chance to be one of the best wings in the league. Oh, and there's Jamal Murray, who was consistently just scoring 50-point games in the playoffs. What a team, man.
Yeah,
crazy.
Mike Malone might have the most fun job right now, or maybe the most. He's probably embracing it, but it's also got to be challenging. There's a lot of scoring potential there. You hope you get every drop out of it. But I think it's just going to be really fun to watch them.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. When I look at this Denver team, and I'm like, I don't ever want anybody to tell me that you can't build successful teams in small markets. It's bullshit. Okay.
Where does Denver rank? I genuinely don't know. I would have said they're like a mid-market team, Denver.
But they're small consider for an NBA team. They're not a team that free agents are going to go to.
Right. Definitely.
Right. So they either have to make the right trades or they have to make the right draft picks. And unlike Sam Presti, when he did it and they just got smoked every year, right? And drafted in the top 5 3 years in a row. Michael Porter Jr. was a guy who slipped in the draft. Bol Bol is a second round pick. Jamal Murray was a lottery pick. It was a good pick. Jokic was a late pick. Like, these aren't guys that were locks. This was talent evaluation.
And then player development too.
And player development. Mm-hmm. But, at some point, not everybody has the talent that these guys you could say what you want about player development with Jokic, but
he has it. Yeah, no, I know.
That's a gift. And you can't teach 7-2, right? And being able to shoot now, his dad, Manute Bol, could shoot the ball, and he was 7'7". So, some of that's probably handed down, right? But it's just the idea that, and going and getting a guy like Will Barton, who is sort of an afterthought, drafting a guy like Gary Harris, who fell a little bit because he stayed later in college, getting a guy like Monty Morris, who we talked about yesterday, who just re-signed for $9 million a year, is one of the best backup point guards in the league. Being able to evaluate, it's what the Heat do, right? Being able to evaluate the right people for the system. Except, as much as I think the Heat have a high ceiling because I think Bam can be a top 10 player and I love what Tyler Hero can become, Denver's got 4 young guys who all could be all-stars. They could be a core of those 4 guys that could be 4 top 25 players in the NBA at some point.
I have to say, I am surprised at this reaction to Bol Bol for how brief the clip was. So he really blew you away. He blew me away too. It just seems like your reaction to Bol Bol seems more like something I would do after seeing a 90-second clip and being like, holy shit. But I mean, it's not like you don't know what you're talking about. You've been evaluating NBA players for your adult life.
Well, it's a combination, right? I think it's seeing him in the limited time that I've seen him play in the NBA and seeing him make an impact, seeing him when he was in the draft, and the biggest concern was injuries and could he stay healthy? And then I just watch clips like that. I'm like, God damn, we just forget how good he is and how good he can be. And now he has no choice. Part of it is excitement that we're going to see that this year. Mm-hmm. So part of me probably already thought that he could be great, right? Watching him, and that he has the talent and he has the most unique skill set. But because he was not in their rotation last year, the excitement was tempered. But now with the guys out the door and him being a year older and them needing him to develop as a rim protector for them, my excitement level is kind of oh, wow, now he's going to play. And he looks pretty damn good.
He does. Yeah. Man, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, he's fun. I mean, think about how fun it is watching Porzingis. And I'm not saying he's Porzingis at all. I'm not saying that at all. But Porzingis is 7'3", and just watching him on the floor with the ability to shoot the ball and do things he can do, it's super fun. And it looks like Bol Bol might be able to do just from a skill wise a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And almost definitely from an athletic, just the way he moves. That was my big takeaway. He's moving very impressively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the 7'2" and above list. There's no one like it. There never has been. I don't even know if there has been at 7 foot, really. KD, if you consider him a 7 footer, he's pretty close.
Giannis, in terms of athleticism, not skill, obviously. But
Giannis, yeah.
In terms of his ability to get up and down the court and run and jump.
Sure. But he's not listed at 7 foot. But he's
not? I thought he was at 7 foot. Okay.
I think he's 6'10", 6'11". I think he's 6'11", but whatever. You're splitting hairs at that height, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
KD probably in certain shoes is 7 foot.
Right.
So it's funny. I wouldn't normally lead off the show with Bol Bol, but that video went everywhere and everyone's excited about it. And I just was watching it. And I was like, man, he's going to be fun. That team's going to be fun to watch. All right, let's talk about James Harden.
Because it sounds like a chore at this point. No, I'm excited about it.
Are you?
Because,
okay,
Joey, he's expanded his list to include Philly, reportedly.
Right. Yeah.
And other title contenders.
Yeah. All right. So he is back. James Harden's back. He's in Houston. He's taken his COVID test. He is, I guess they are working on getting him through the protocol or something like that. Now, Steven Silas did his post-practice media. They asked him about it. He said he's in Houston, so that's good. But that's pretty much all I know. Like, it's wild. Like you said, he has reportedly, according to the man who knows about basketball, Adrian Wojnarowski, he told the Rockets that he is willing to get traded to Philly and other contenders. I saw some stuff earlier, someone saying that the Heat were on that list, but I don't know if that's official because it didn't come from Woj. There's another team, I think another Eastern Conference team. Now, I also read something that Tillman Fertitta not only doesn't want to trade him, but doesn't necessarily want to trade him to Philly because he doesn't want to trade him to Morey, because Morey basically said, I'm taking a year off from basketball. Can you let me out of my contract? And then a week later went to Philly.
Yeah.
So I think there might be a little bit of bad blood there. Also, Morey has been pretty insistent not trading Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. So that doesn't get done. Right. I would also have to ask this question. If you're Houston, would you trade John Wall or James Harden for Ben Simmons when you just traded for John Wall?
Well, yeah, just the age that, like, I feel like if I wouldn't, because I don't like Ben Simmons that much, but I'm just saying Houston theoretically might not even be a concern because they think John Wall's out the door as soon as his contract is up in 2-3 years.
3 years.
And Ben Simmons is going to be their franchise guy.
Right.
So, like, I don't think they would be too concerned about, these guys both need to handle the ball. I mean, if they have to tell John Wall to just take a back seat, they're going to do it, I think. My concern, just in terms of wanting James Harden to go to Philly, is that it just seems like there's way better packages out there.
Well, I don't think there is. Well, here's the thing. The problem becomes this, and this is what everyone's been talking about. First of all, the Warriors were a team that people talked about, and the Warriors reportedly are out. They don't want them.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple things that go into it. But also, let me just mention this. This is something that I hadn't seen before. Joe Varden from The Athletic also said that that Harden wanted Ty Lue and that Tillman Fertitta wanted and because Fertitta didn't want Ty Lue, I don't know what happened with Van Gundy. It's starting to sound like my guy Steven was like, well, we can't get this guy and we can't get this guy, so let's just go with this guy. But it doesn't sound like, it almost sounds like Harden was like, well, if it's not going to be Ty Lue, then it's not going to be Van Gundy. I want Steven Silas. But doesn't really want him,
Right. Just, second. Yeah. Well, we talked about during the coaching search, we talked about how unappealing of a job this was because, like, it's such a logjam with the roster and you're pretty much certain you're not going to win a title with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Yeah, what is your gut? Do you think he stays? My gut is that he gets traded before the season starts.
Well, I think so. I think he gets traded before the season starts. Well, it's so weird because of Fertitta's a wild card. I don't know. Like, he keeps going on MSNBC or CNBC and talking about how he plans to keep Harden and they think they can win a championship, and the Rockets organization seems very intent on keeping him. So I don't know. My instinct tells me that Harden's doing everything in his power. Well, actually, not even my instinct. We're watching it unfold.
You can see him we can see him doing it.
He's doing everything in his power not to be on that team. But the problem becomes this. He makes a shitload of money. He has 3 years left on his deal. So if you are a young team with assets like the Hawks, are you willing to give up a bunch of assets for James Harden if you don't know for sure that James Harden wants to be there or will sign another deal at the end of this or sign an extension? And if you're not, he has insisted that he wants to play for a title contender. How many title contenders are there out there that can make this deal even happen with the right assets and the right money? So the thing to me is, yes, it would seem like there are better packages out there than what Philly can offer. But I don't know, because I think ultimately if the Rockets, if they feel like he's just going to be a pain in the ass and it's going to fuck up their season, they eventually might just have to take what they can get, so to speak.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But then they're going to get a haul. Like they do have, I think they have leverage because there are multiple teams.
But I'm saying, are there teams that could compete for a title that he wants to play for that can give them a better package than Ben Simmons and whatever else?
The Nets. I think that's the other team to me, because it just depends, like whether you're so all in on Ben Simmons or you say, okay, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jarrett Allen looks really good. So I think that's where they have leverage in the sense that there's two teams out there that can give you really good packages. And dude, like the Hawks, really I don't know. I guess it is interesting. Yeah, like James Harden, if he's like, I don't want to play for the Hawks, then the Hawks, they're going to know that, and they might not offer. You might not get the best possible offer out there. But to me, if you're the Rockets, yeah, I think it's like we gotta get something. The writing's on the wall. You're not going to win a title with a James Harden that doesn't want to play for you. It's not going to happen, unless something changes dramatically. So get a great haul for this guy. It's out there. I know it's out there. Whether it's Brooklyn, Philly, or some dark horse, like they need to go get a shitload of young players. And that's the other thing. We're not talking about like 3 future first-round picks. Like they're going to get young talent, which is way more appealing in my opinion.
Well, if they really don't want to rebuild, which is part of what Silas said today, is that part of what made him want to be there. I think what made him want to be there is wanting to be an NBA head coach. But part of what made him excited about being there was that they're not rebuilding, that they're bringing in guys and they're still trying to compete. So, yeah, I think they want to get, get young players, like you said, and be able to still try to compete. The other thing that Harden did today, which I think is fat, it's such a clear thing, like what he's doing. So like in the off season, when we get back to camp, everyone's like you saw John Wall and Boogie posting the picture of them in their practice jerseys. See all these teams with players posting pictures in their new jerseys and their city edition and this edition and that edition. James Harden today posts this picture on Twitter.
I saw in the rundown, Harden posted picture in all Adidas gear, but I didn't think it was going to look like that.
I mean, it's just him. It's just him in an Adidas hoodie
with like a whitish grayish background, and he looks like he just did something illegal somewhere. I don't know. He looks weird.
Well, he always kind of makes faces like that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is he's in full workout gear. Like he's wearing the long compression pants. He's wearing high socks, basketball shoes, shorts, and a hoodie. But everything, like you said, it's all white background. No Rockets, no anything. The only logos you see in the entire thing are the Adidas logo and the NBA logo on the ball. This is a clear message from James Harden of his intention to not be a Rocket on the same day that he reportedly, or not reportedly, that he is back in Houston going through the protocol to supposedly go be in training camp with his team.
So is there any word on it? Like he still has to quarantine, right? Like he can be there. Like, I don't think he can practice anytime soon, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if he, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I thought he had quarantine for at least a week or something.
I guess, but they also said he's testing for, he's doing COVID tests. So I don't know if they're going to just let him practice if he tests negative.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I would think that the league wants him to be playing just as much as Houston does. I mean, he's one of the faces.
Yeah.
I also think that the market for him is probably dwindling a little bit because people don't want to have him because he's showing to be a pain in the ass.
Really? I don't know. Like who? Like who do you think wouldn't want him now? Is it like whose mind?
I mean, look again. Like, I would be pretty surprised to see the Heat make a deal for him.
I guess I just never thought that was gonna, because that would involve giving up Tyler Hero and
right. But if he's the guy to take you to win you 2 more games in the finals, then you do it. But
yeah,
you know, all this shit now, I don't know, man. I mean, at Philly, it makes sense because they're a mess anyways, but teams that aren't a mess, like it feels like maybe like the Warriors, for example. Why did the Warriors pull out? Maybe because of maybe because Clay's injured and they don't know what their future holds. But also, like, if they could trade like Wiggins and Wiseman and a future pick for him, what would they be this year? Yeah. I don't know. So,
I mean, I'm not totally convinced the Warriors are out. That'd be crazy to me if the Warriors are like, no, we're not trading, we're out.
What if the genius that is Sam Presti knew all along? He knew this years ago that really James Harden was this complete asshole, and he was like, "This guy doesn't fit Oklahoma City culture. Get him out of here."
That'd be amazing. You know, okay, if Harden retires without a ring, then that's got to be a little notch on his belt then.
Presti's gonna retire without a ring too. So,
well, he already has the ring for most first-round picks in history.
That's
what
true.
ring are we talking about? I mean, it's all relative with this guy. Yeah,
the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah, he's got that. But yeah, he's not going to get an NBA title, I don't think.
Yeah. All right, I'm skipping the ESPN shit. The top 100 players.
I think that's because without the full list, we can't really, you know.
Well, the main reason that it stuck out to me was Lonzo Ball being 54th ahead of many other players that are clearly substantially better than Lonzo Ball at this point in his career. And Patrick Beverley still being in the top 100 is crazy to me. He stinks.
That's pretty ignorant.
But let's
okay. Sorry. Yep.
No, we don't need to talk about it. I want to talk about because I want to talk about the LeBron James stuff. And then it was really interesting. So he was on Road Tripping, Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye's podcast, and there's a couple things that he said. 2 things specifically. It was a 2-part interview. And every time he does like a long form interview that's not his show, like Barbershop or whatever, it's just like, man, this guy is so smart. And you can just tell all the people who say like LeBron's not as competitive as MJ and dude, people are insane. You just listen to the guy talk and you can just tell like his whole life is competing. Like all he cares about is winning. And it's not just like winning on and off the court. Like everything to him is just like, I got to be the best at everything I do. And you can't get to where he is and not be that guy. But when you just listen to him talk, there was a funny moment, and I think it didn't even get caught. Like most people probably didn't notice it, but I did, because I think we've even sort of alluded to this on the show before about LeBron, about how he hears everything and sees everything. Mm-hmm. There was a point where Richard Jefferson was and the Allie Clifton, who's the host or co-host or whatever, they mentioned something that happened on the podcast, and LeBron's like, yeah, I saw when you said this on the podcast or whatever. And Richard Jefferson's like, damn, you saw that? And they all start laughing. And LeBron just very quickly goes, I see everything. That's awesome. And I was just like, yeah, you do see everything, don't you? Like I told you that I've said before, he reads and sees everything.
But it's because there's only so many hours in a day. That's why it's insane.
Yeah, but some players are like, I don't care. I don't see that. People, I don't care what people say. Like for example, the Heat, right? There was these reports that people around the league thought that the Heat thing was a fluke, right? So all these Heat players have been asked, like, what did you think about this? And they're like, we don't worry about what people outside the organization say. We don't read it. That's like the typical line.
Yeah.
LeBron's like, no, I see it all. And which is great that he admits it, but he's smart about it. Like he doesn't like lash out or any of that stuff, but he does.
Yeah.
But he strikes me as a guy who wants to see it all because he wants to be a step ahead of everybody.
Mm-hmm. And he also is probably collecting stuff to motivate himself as well. I truly believe that.
Sure.
But yeah, he's low key about it.
I guess like when you get to that level of success, you need to keep like little things to keep motivating you, maybe.
100%. Yeah.
So one of the things he said in there was they started talking about the GOAT conversation, kind of, right? And he was basically saying like, it was interesting because they were kind of talking about how like in other sports, they don't debate the GOAT as much as it happens in basketball. Like he was like saying in football, you know, sometimes they debate the best quarterback, but they don't ever really debate best player. Like, you know, they'll debate like Brady and Manning and those guys, but not like best player. Hockey, there's never a debate. It's always Wayne Gretzky. Baseball, you know, they mentioned somebody, but he said, you know, it's always going to be, he said, he's always going to be a debate in basketball who's the best ever. He said the thing that he knows for sure is that he was a part of the two hardest championships in NBA history, coming back from 3-1 against the 73-9 Warriors in 2016 and last year in the bubble. And he said that's a fact.
That's bold. That's bold, LeBron. Sure, people have an issue with that. I don't necessarily disagree.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I agree or disagree, but it's definitely not a fact because there's no way to quantify it. But a lot of players have said that last year in the bubble was the hardest situation they've been in terms of being professional athletes.
Okay, but my devil's advocate, like for that, is everyone was in the bubble. You know, it's not like.
But when they're not in the bubble, then everyone's not in the bubble.
I just mean like it's not like LeBron and the Lakers were up against something that the rest of the league wasn't. Like the 3-1 thing, you know.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he's saying. He's not saying it was the hardest for him. He's saying it's the hardest for anybody.
Okay. I just feel like the bubble, like as difficult and crazy as it was, but it was still an even playing field. Like it was.
I think the 3-1 was sort of enhanced the fact that they beat the team with the best record in NBA history. I think that's part of what he was saying too.
Yeah.
That not only did we come back from 3-1, but either way, we would have had to beat the team with the best record in NBA history.
Right.
So I think that's where he meant. I think it was like a combination thing.
Right.
The team was 73-9. They weren't supposed to lose. Obviously, they're up 3-1. Yeah. So it's just interesting because you know, like you listen to him, you're like, you know that he thinks he's the best ever.
Oh yeah, he had. I mean,
hear stuff like that. He thinks he's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, he wouldn't have become what he is if he didn't want to be. You know, it's probably been his life's mission since he like picked up a basketball.
Sure,
it's pretty. That's pretty cool. That's a badass. Whether I agree with it or not, it's badass. Like to state that as a fact. Like yeah,
and then he thinks about that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that he has had the thought in his mind. Like I've won the two. Not also he has 4. So he's like not even thinking about the Heat titles, but just the fact that he thinks about it and in his mind he's like 2 hardest titles ever. Yeah. And then the other one there's a few other things that he talked about, but they started talking about Kyrie, and Richard Jefferson asked him about Kyrie's comments that when he got KD. Remember that he looked down the bench and he's like, I finally have a guy who I trust who can also hit shots at the end of the game.
Yeah. That's one of the more ignorant things on Kyrie's long list of ignorant shit.
So LeBron it was amazing, man, listening to him talk about Kyrie Irving. It really was like he was gushing about Kyrie Irving. Like basically said that part of the reason he went back to Cleveland was because he saw what the talent that Kyrie had, and he still thinks Kyrie is one of the best, one of the most talented players he's been around. And he said he told Kyrie when he got there that if he never wins league MVP, then he's selling himself short, and that like there's just not guys who can do the things that he can do. It was just listening to him. He's like, I cared about him. He's like, at the end, you should watch the clip when you get a chance. He's like, at the end of the day, I cared about his success on the court. I cared about his success off the court. All I wanted for him was to be an MVP and to win an NBA championship. It was just like, it's like people are going to say what they want about LeBron. Some people think he's full of shit. Some people love him. You know, he's polarizing. It seemed very genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got to the point where he was just like, yeah, so when I heard that, I was hurt a little bit.
That is really interesting. I've always kind of wondered this. When Kyrie forced his way out of Cleveland, I've always wondered if it was because his relationship with LeBron was so intense and so much to live up to that it cracked him, And I mean, we know how intense LeBron is. I mean, that's like, if you watch him speak and play basketball. And so now LeBron's saying, if you don't win league MVP, you're not living up to your potential. Like, that's just a little anecdote of what Kyrie probably had to go through for years. I could see somebody cracking under that. I mean, you're talking about either the best player or the second best player of all time saying you should be league MVP this year, and probably every time in practice.
I don't think he was saying this year.
No, but in your career, like, he's basically telling you your potential is as high as it gets. And the same, like, I'm sure LeBron loves him. LeBron's called him his little brother so many times, but like the flip side of that is how much they probably butted heads and how angry LeBron probably got when he thought Kyrie wasn't living up to his potential and stuff. I think that's revealing, those comments. I mean, I definitely think it had a lot to do with Kyrie being like, fuck, I can't be in this situation. I got to get out of here. It's frustration, but that's how I interpret. That's how I've always interpreted it. And
if that's the case, then if that's true, which is obviously speculation, and it's just how you interpret it, but it's very possible, then it just would confirm what I've always thought about Kyrie, is that he's a loser.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that like, oh, he's a nerd or whatever. I mean like a loser. Like, he has a loser's mentality. Yes, he won a title and he hit a big shot, one of the biggest shots ever. But if you get the best player on the planet on your team, you're a title contender every year, and you can't handle that he thinks you should be league MVP, then you're a loser. You're a talented loser, super talented loser, but a loser nonetheless. And it makes me really not fear. I'm not actually scared, but like, you might be right about the Nets. Like, maybe now, again, if KD is KD, then that can solve a lot of things, right? Because we've seen Kyrie do it before with another generational player. But if KD is not KD 100%, then Kyrie's loserness could really mess this thing up.
I think that's where it's headed. I really do. And I've been steadfast with that. I'm bracing for having to admit I'm wrong, but I think we're headed for disaster in Brooklyn.
Well, all I'll say is this: if you go and watch this interview with LeBron and you don't like him, like you don't find him likable, and you don't find like the things he says in the like this stuff, you're just a hater. You just are. Like, it's hard to watch him and not be like, oh, this guy's good for the league. He's good for the sport. And all he's ever done is do well by the sport. You could hate that he left your team, hate that he went to a team that you liked, whatever. But the guy is awesome. They did talk about Space Jam. He did give a little insight into it. It does sound very corny.
I'm not sure I even want to know. I have strong feelings about Space Jam, and I think this is you don't touch the classics. Space Jam is an immortal.
You don't want to know at all? You don't want to know what
dude, I when I heard that there was the sequel, I was bummed. You don't mess with immortal movies.
You give the whole plot. Well, actually,
lay it on me.
Give away a lot of the plot.
What is it?
Well, he started off by saying it's a family movie.
Okay.
Which is never a good sign. I don't think they go to space. I don't think there's actually like a space. He said there is a basketball game and they do play against a team that is out of this world. I don't know what that means.
Oh, there better be aliens.
But he said the story is about him and his son, and him trying to force his son to play basketball instead of listening to his son and allowing his son to do what he's actually great at. So it's like a lesson. Like the movie's like about the relationship between the father and the son.
This movie's going to suck ass, Joey. I can basically guarantee that right now. That's not good. That's not good news to me.
That's why when I was taking notes as I was watching the interview, I wrote, you could see it in the rundown. Space Jam sounds a little corny.
I think there's going to be a huge misfire. And bastardizing the original, like by putting the name Space Jam on it. If there's not aliens, I'm going to be pissed. I'm telling you right now,
I think it's called. It's not Space Jam. He was very clear in saying it's not Space Jam 2.
Okay.
It's Space Jam: A New Legacy or something like that.
Okay.
It sounds like it. If it wasn't LeBron, it'd be straight to DVD. If DVDs are even a thing anymore, I guess VOD. DVDs aren't really.
I don't know. We have to watch it. That could be a fun episode. A reaction to that where we do the commentary. Well, I guess we could probably get sued for that, but we
wouldn't do live. Yeah, I mean, we could if we have enough of an audience by that time. Maybe we could do like a watch along.
Yeah, this movie's going to be really, really bad. I'm more confident in that than any of my over/under picks, anything on this show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not super excited about it either. He did also say that, which was really cool, or I thought it. I mean, it would have been cool. He was trying to start, like Jordan Brand. He was trying to start within Nike Team LeBron, and he tried to get Luka to be the face, like the first guy to be Team LeBron.
Wow.
And I guess his people at Nike dropped the ball because they didn't see it or something like that. Even though he's with Nike and now he's with Jordan Brand. But like something happened and his people weren't able to get it done or something. I don't know.
Wow.
He tried to do that because he said he sees a lot of himself in.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people see that. That's kind of, and it falls right in line with our recent conversation about face of the league in 5 years.
Yeah. Imagine if he would have been Team LeBron, like what that would do just for his stock, like being face of Team LeBron.
Yeah. That'd have been awesome.
That's pretty much it. They got into a big debate about red vines versus Twizzlers.
I saw that. I figured that was a big debate. Just looking at it on the rundown here.
Licorice is gross no matter what brand it is, isn't it?
I can't say I've ever had a red vine.
Yeah, I think it's only in certain places.
The only Twizzlers I like are the pull and peel ones that are they're not even licorice. They're just like gummy candy. Yeah, licorice kind of sucks.
Sounds gross too. I don't like gummy candy.
Oh, okay. Well, you're wrong.
Wrong about what?
You're wrong.
Wrong for not liking gummy candy. I don't really like candy.
Okay.
Like I like chocolate is considered candy, but I don't like.
You don't like like gummy like
candy.
Skittles?
What?
Do you like Skittles?
I could eat a Skittle. I'm not like a big Skittle. I'm not like a Skittle guy. I'm not going to sit here and eat a bag of Skittles.
You wouldn't get excited if somebody came and handed you a bag of Skittles. Wow, that's wild. Okay.
I mean, I don't know that I would get excited over any bag of candy if someone was just like, "Here's a bag of candy."
There's not a candy bar out there that you'd get excited about if somebody.
I would have to be in the mood for a candy bar.
Wow, that's.
I'm not always in the mood for a candy bar.
There's a lot about you and a lot about me, probably. I'm this passionate about that.
No, I think you're probably more normal in that respect than I am. I think like if you ask any person, most people, and you're like, if I could give you a candy bar right now, what would it be? Or what would you be excited about? People would be like,
yeah, I know exactly. Yeah,
but I don't know. Huh. I probably couldn't even tell you my favorite candy because I'm not like a big candy guy. So I like candy. I like certain candies. They all have to have chocolate.
Interesting.
But I don't know, like hardcore favorite. Probably don't have one. Butterfinger's up there.
That wouldn't even crack my top 10, to be honest with you. That's okay. That's wild to me.
I mean, Snickers. You can't go wrong with a Snickers.
Yeah, that's number one for me.
Wait, how? I mean, I get. So you don't like peanut butter?
No, I love peanut butter. But Butterfinger, it's like a.
So how do you know? How can a Snickers and a Butterfinger be 10 apart?
They just are. Butterfinger gets stuck.
They have like core tenets that are the same. Like chocolate and peanuts
is fundamentally different than a Snickers.
Chocolate and peanuts.
Butterfingers don't have you're not even thinking of the right candy.
It's like peanut butter flavored.
It's not a Butterfinger. It's like
what does the butter stand for?
I don't know, but it's not there's no peanuts. It's not peanut flavored.
But the flavor is peanut butter. It's like peanut butter flavor.
I haven't had one long enough, but it's not. It's like something totally different.
What is it then?
It's not peanut. Maybe it's peanut butter-ish, but
yes. And what is peanut butter made from?
Peanuts. But they're two different substances. They're one's derivative of the other. Butterfinger. Now I'm Googling it.
Yeah, I'm looking too.
If there's anyone still listening to this, I mean, God bless you.
Hold on. The bar consists of a layered, crispy peanut butter core covered in chocolate.
Okay, peanut butter. There's no peanut butter involved in a Snickers. There's peanut and there's caramel.
I know, but what the fuck are you talking? What are you trying to tell me that there's no peanuts in peanut butter? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm in the peanut butter they use for a Butterfinger. It's not even actual
core, but the core. There's two core things in a Butterfinger: chocolate and peanut butter.
But it's like rock hard toffee-ish peanut butter. It's not.
Well, it's not toffee because toffee is a flavor.
It's toffee-ish.
Peanut butter and chocolate, and Snickers has three core things. It's not caramel. It's nougat.
Okay. You know way more about
chocolate and peanuts and nougat.
All right, we're gonna take 2 steps back. I know we're gonna wrap up. Main point is that a Butterfinger and a Snickers taste nothing alike, and that's why they can be 10 spots away from each other.
Yeah, but you probably have a bunch of like sugary, like gross, chewy shit in the middle.
Yeah. So.
So what's weird to me is that they would be so separated from each other when they're so much more similar than all the shit you have in the middle.
Well, one's good and one sucks. That's really.
Well, that's your opinion.
Okay.
I mean, you said I was wrong. I'm not even going to say you're wrong because, hey, it's an opinion.
Okay. This might be the most heated debate on the show, and it's not even close to basketball.
It's, yeah. I mean, it's another long episode because of it. But it's very strange to me how you don't see that there are core principles in both candy bar.
If you take enough steps backward, sure.
But for them to be so separate from each other.
They don't taste alike.
I didn't say they tasted alike.
Okay.
They don't taste alike.
All right, I'll let you have the last word, Joey.
Okay. Hold on. Name, what's number 2? Because you were so quick to say Snickers was 1 and Butterfinger's not even in your top 10, which makes me think you have a ranking. Like
Gummy Bears is probably number 2. Gummy Bears are delicious.
Like, is there a brand?
Haribo.
Like, what?
Haribo or Haribo. I really don't know if the R or the I comes first, but it's like Haribo maybe.
I think it's Haribo.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It's definitely Haribo. Okay. Yeah, that's number 2. And then there's like a Crunch Bars in there. Milky Way's in there.
So you're a chocolate guy.
Nerds Rope is in there. No, I'm all over the place.
Oh, what the fuck is Nerds Rope?
Fantastic.
That sounds disgusting.
Okay.
It does. What is it?
It's, you know what nerds are, right?
Yes.
So it's like a gummy rope just covered in nerds.
All right. Make sure you rate, subscribe, and review on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review or a comment down below about candy or whatever else you want to leave it about. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.